Hi, everybody. I'm Shasta Smith, and I'm coming to you from inside the altar room here in Sacramento, California. And I'm doing an unscripted video as a source of preservation and information for those of you who love history, love curiosities, that love oddities, and a little bit of everything in between. Today I have something that is perceived as very rare. Rare meaning there are very few in existence. And some of you might watch this video and say, hey, I've seen something like that in person. Well, there are a couple of these in museums here in the United States. And one of the pieces that I have to present to you today is a salesman sample of a solid pressed glass casket. So these came to rise in right around 1917 to about 1929. This salesman sample is by a company called the DeCamp Glass Casket Company. Now, there were a handful of glass casket companies during this time, and they were pretty much all in cahoots with each other. So you're going to hear a little bit about the potential scandal and scams of the time, and I guess you could say the innovation of the time, where I personally feel that the inventors of this glass casket kind of thought that they had something cool in mind. Now, mind you, they were out to sell people on a hermetically sealed casket. And what that means is they wanted people to know that their loved ones would never be harmed by rodents, insects, and decay, which is kind of goes against, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And you're also going to see with this salesman sample, which is consistent with the full size adult caskets, is they actually have fabric on the interior, so you can't see through them. And that was the idea. Unlike during the Victorian era, where viewing death was kind of a part of life, this is when things started to change a little bit. So they were selling hermetically sealed as opposed to actually being able to see your loved one through the casket. That wasn't the intention. And we'll also show you a little bit about the, like I said, what might be perceived as scandal. So I have here, which is another important piece of the puzzle, and this is a DeCamp glass casket stock certificate. So one of the things that they were also trying to do was get the public to buy stock in the company, even though they weren't really making a lot of these caskets. So they were really out to earn money, and whether or not they could produce these in mass quantity, well, we know that that actually never really happened because the company went defunct almost as soon as it started. One thing that you'll notice about the salesman sample is pressed glass is heavy glass. So if you've ever lifted a pressed glass punch bowl before, you know that they have a lot of weight. And this is a salesman sample, which I wanted to stand behind it just to kind of prove perspective for a second. And that is, it's not that big, but this weighs almost 30 pounds. You got to put a little muscle into it to lift it and move it around carefully. There are salesman samples that are in private collections. You're seeing one here right now. This is considered a private collection. We've seen them on the Antiques Roadshow is another one under a different name, which was the Crystal Glass Casket Company. I think that's the proper name for it. Again, they were all in cahoots with each other. A little bit of a different style, but the one on Antiques Roadshow, and there is another one in a private collection. Those are two very beautiful examples, very well cared for. You're going to see clips of this video where I will go over the tops, inside and around, and you'll see some flaws in this one. And that's pretty typical of something that's just kind of been stored and kind of pushed to the side throughout the years. Not uncommon for antiques, not uncommon for things of this nature to kind of go in and out of fashion. And what I mean by that is things go through popularity. Any of you that are out there right now that collect antiques know, you know, we call it a 10-year, 7 to 10 year cycle. Things will become very popular and then they'll kind of lose their steam and other things will become popular. At the filming of this, we are in the year 2026. So this is considered funeral history, and it is probably at the height at this very moment of its collectability. It falls under the category of oddities, and it's really fascinating. So, like I said, I've got this perfect example of a stock certificate, which goes hand in hand with this glass salesman sample. Some people have come into my shop space here at the altar room and have seen this and say, "Oh my gosh, that is an infant coffin." And no, it's not at all. This is in fact too small. And not to be morbid here, but it would almost be like a very premature baby, or yeah, something smaller could fit in here, like a very small doll. But this is not the size of an infant casket. This is a true salesman sample. It's a working sample, which I'll show you in the other clips. And it's got, 3 handles here on one side and 3 handles on the other, which would be very traditional for how to carry a casket during a funeral. One thing to know about why this company went defunct, other than their money problems, is the sheer weight of this. So, as I told you, the salesman sample is almost 30 pounds solid glass. So, you can only imagine how crazy heavy a full adult size casket would have been. I I can't even imagine. All I think of is like a forklift needing to come in. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you some other clips of this amazing piece of funeral history.
So, for those of you that may not know this, a salesman sample is the actual item that a salesman would take door to door in order to try to convince people to buy their product. This would have likely have been inside of a leather travel case, so the salesman could bring it right into your home, open it up, and show you how this casket performs, its shaping, its beauty. As we can see here, the fabric lined glass. There's some beadwork on the side there, lace. The fabric on the interior of this is extremely delicate. And we're going to open up the case here in a moment, where you'll see that it comes in 2 pieces. So what you're seeing here is the top portion that's been pulled out of the opening. So you can see some of the delicate nature of the filigree, which is just a thread. They used a silver thread, and then the interior of it, which does have age. And you also get to see the unfortunate nature of the interior that appears to have had some mice living in it over the years. It's a bit tattered, but the fabric is there, and the pieces are there for possible future restoration, which is great. Like I said, there are some pieces in private collections that are in beautiful condition. This one, the fabric, not so much. So I've removed the fabric in this part so we can actually see all the details of the pressed glass and the metal detailing around the outside. The top has a dome to it, kind of an arch, if you will, which is only achievable by doing pressed glass. And the interior. The glass itself is actually in great condition. This particular specimen has a chip in the right-hand corner. Might be a little visible from this video, maybe not, but the metal has some age to it also. It is kind of what you would see in a traditional format that's probably been exposed to some moisture over time, but still just a beautiful specimen. This is the incredible stock certificate that was more likely pushed for sale than the casket itself. This certificate is in stunning condition, dated 1928 for $10. It's got its seal on there, that embossed seal. And this is the exterior of the certificate that would have been folded into a pamphlet. Just an incredible piece for this collection.
So here is something else that is truly fascinating that I wanted to show you as just to kind of complete the puzzle. Now, what I have here is a complete copy of the American Glass Casket Company catalog. And it's a copy of the original that is available through one of the great museums here in the United States. And they had the American Glass Casket Company and the Crystal Glass uh, Casket Company catalogs. But what makes this fascinating is it reconfirms a lot of what I've shown you today. And that is the styling of some of these pieces. Here's the manufacturing as they would have tried to show people in the past that, they are a legitimate location. And here is another casket and information about the directors and the product and the location. And here is Mr. DeCamp himself. And he is actually standing here with a grouping of the smaller caskets, including a salesman sample. The machinery that they would have used. More information about the material and so forth. And of course, they made other glass products during this time period, but they were really trying to focus on the wow factor of these glass caskets. And I'm just going to kind of thumb through these really quickly. An image here. I have a hard time believing that this is actually a real image of just a mass production of caskets, because as we know it today, and again, some of this is just hearsay. Um, it's pondered that there may only have ever been a couple people ever truly buried in these glass caskets. Their major focus was, um, raising money, and but again, you get to kind of see some of these great pieces and these elements, just kind of bringing this full circle. I want to thank you for watching this video. And as you can probably tell, I am not the master of making video, audio, or any of that technical side, but I am a passionate history preservationist, and that is truly how we keep history alive. If you ever find yourself in Sacramento, California, please look up the Altar Room at thealtarroom.com. I have an 1,800 square foot gallery of curiosity and inspiration, and I'd love to meet you. Until next time.